Welcome to this CircleSource initiative where business owners share how they are successfully navigating uncommon and uncertain times. I'm Georgia Ellis, and I'm excited to explore how to successfully operate a small business in times of uncertainty. And in this interview, I'm going to be talking to Chris Sprott. So after 20 years in the corporate and construction industries, Chris has spent the last 12 years as a professional photographer, specializing in photography, video, and drone imagery. He leads a small team of like-minded and skilled professionals working with individuals and businesses within the construction and building industries. He operates two very distinct businesses: Build Images, where he works with the construction industry, and Profile Booth, where he's working within corporate and corporations. So welcome, Chris. Great to have you.
Thanks, Georgia. Great to be here.
Yeah, so your work sounds really both interesting and rewarding. I'd love to know a little bit more around what it is that you actually do. How do you serve your clients?
Yeah, so as you said, my background is in the corporate and the construction industries. So, and I've always had a passion for photography. And so it just sort of made sense that when I made the leap from full-time work in that construction corporate space into photography, that I would, look back at or use that network and connections that I had to build my business or businesses in that corporate and construction space. And so the two different brands are quite distinct, and it gives me a lot of variation and variety in what I can do and what my team can do. So yeah, it's good fun, and when we're able to get out and about and shoot, it's very rewarding, and it's nice to be able to pursue a passion.
Yeah, so what would be some of your typical photo images that you would do, say, for corporate, and what would you be doing in the construction?
So for the corporate side of things, we do a lot of headshots. So we operate a booth, one of the old newspaper stands in Melbourne. I converted into a headshot booth back in 2016, which is still going. And so people can just turn up it's on the street, so people can just turn up and get their updated headshot for LinkedIn. We get a lot of corporate clients coming through and sending new staff our way. We also go out to offices and do that sort of thing as well. We also do corporate branding for a lot of those companies as well. So people then use them for their websites and for their LinkedIn profiles. With Build Images, it's drawing on my construction experience, and so providing the full gamut of marketing content or visual content for that industry. So on the ground progress photography, finished completion imagery, videos, so video interviews, as well as on-site video work, and of course the drone imagery, which everyone gets very excited about, and including ourselves, because it's lots of fun to get out there and get that different perspective on things. The combination of both those two elements of the business does keep me pretty busy, and it's lots of fun.
Yeah, so talking about keeping busy, we've been in the last 18 months in some really unusual and unprecedented times. How have you managed to navigate that, especially when you said, a second ago, it's great to get out there and take photos when I could. So how have you navigated these interesting times that we're in?
Yeah, so obviously, we're talking sort of last March, which is when everything really started shutting down. And the first thing to go was the corporate space. Everyone sort of moved out from the city to work from home. And so, with Profile Booth in particular, that's very much a face-to-face business. So not only doing the headshots, but we also do a lot of event photography. Events just shut down, and not being able to go and visit offices. So that Profile Booth side of things has really, since March last year, been on the slow, and almost stopped at certain points. Whereas, at different times, Build Images, because it's outside, it's on site, a lot of the time it's not interacting with people as much. there has been a lot more scope to be able to get out there and do some shooting at various times. Obviously, with some of the severe lockdowns, we're not able to get out there at all, which has made things very difficult. So I guess in those times, in that downtime, if you like, where we're not able to get out and shoot at all, that's when I've been, continuing to network, a lot of Zoom meetings and catching up with people and just keeping those networks alive and meeting new people as well. Doing a lot of marketing, particularly social media posts, and just keeping that client engagement going.
Yeah.
It's just been important. I wanted to make sure that that side of things didn't die off, that it just kept going and kept alive, so that when we do come out of those lockdowns, that that momentum keeps going.
Yeah. So you've actually answered a number of my questions there, which is incredible, which is really good. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you around was, well, how do you manage, in these uncertain times, how do you start to manage your pipeline? Because things are changing so quickly. You could have one moment you're allowed on site, and then the next day you may not be able to. So how are you managing that pipeline for your business?
Yeah, well, I think the key is communicating with my clients, and generally everyone is pretty understanding of things, and you can plan for a shoot or an event or whatever it is, but knowing that in this climate, that the brakes could be put on at any minute. So it's just keeping connected with the clients, and as soon as an announcement's made by the government or a lockdown happens or whatever, then just getting on the front foot and contacting them and arranging for another time, as soon as that the restriction eases, and just really getting on the front foot and being flexible. If things change, as they are quite often at the moment changing, just needing to be flexible and just working with the client as best as possible. And like I said, everyone's pretty understanding, and just trying to work with each other and other businesses to make it happen as best we can.
Yeah. So Chris, I'm hearing there a lot around working with existing clients. So what would happen if you needed to build pipeline and get new clients? How are you thinking about going about doing that? So for instance, you mentioned corporates really died down. So did you then look at how do you create a new pipeline potentially in other industries, or is there any of that sort of work, and how are you approaching that?
Yeah, look, I guess for me, I'm lucky in that I have build images. So I've probably shifted a lot more of my attention towards build images over the last 18 months, where, I've been doing a lot of networking. That's probably the biggest thing that I've continued to do, as I mentioned earlier, is stay connected. I think it's just so important. As much as we get over doing Zoom meetings and Zoom calls, it's just important just to stay front of mind for people. And like I said, putting out as much content as I can on social media platforms. And a big one for me is LinkedIn, for both profile booth and build images. Then also Instagram is a good one as well, being a visual based business, and then Facebook. And reusing content as much as I can. So I'm not having to start from scratch every time, and trying to put a lot of video out. Because we all know that people engage with video a lot more than sort of still photography, but trying to mix it up as well at the same time. So I guess that's probably been my two biggest things is that networking, connecting with people, meeting new people, and putting out as much content as I can online.
Beautiful. And that's in the day and age that we live in. It's one of the tools we can have to be able to build that pipeline. Is people build trust through continuity. So if you're always showing up on social media with your work, well, people will start to say, hey, he's credible, maybe I'll start to trust him, and potentially reach out to you for some work as well, which is awesome. So as a small business owner, you work with a small team. There's so much that we need to do. There's our marketing, our accounting, all these little admin bits and pieces that I don't know whether you enjoy them or not, but I know I don't. And so we need a lot of support. So where do you go to get your support for the things that you do in your business?
Yeah, so you've touched on a couple there, one being accounting. I've got a good accountant that I use, and so he's on board with all the numbers, so which is great. And I use some virtual assistants at times, and also another one is, with my line of work, editing of particularly video, but also photos is very time consuming. So I used virtual assistants for that as well, which has been really important.
Mm-hmm.
And then the back end of things, getting teams to help with updating the website, and probably not so much with social media. I like to do that myself. I guess being a creative, I enjoy putting stuff out there, putting words to my images and videos and that sort of thing. But certainly the numbers side of things, and the some of the editing work, and some of those other manual tasks, I definitely try and get help with that, because you can't do it all yourself if you want to grow a business. Otherwise, you just it's endless.
Yeah. So you said, you try and get help. Where do you go to find these editors, these VAs, these,
Yeah. So again, a lot of it has come back to my network. So finding people through my networks, and friends and trusted colleagues and that sort of thing, and certainly using online platforms as well to get some of those on board. I won't mention some of the ones I've used in the past, but certainly know that using online platforms has been a necessary tool to connect and reach some of these people and get those tasks done.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So Chris, you recently came across CircleSource. Speaking of online platforms, can you tell me what happened and how CircleSource is helping you in your business?
Yeah, certainly. So I got a message from a friend of mine through a network, actually. Would have been 12 months or so ago, with a job for a company looking for a photographer and videographer to do some branding work and video for them. It happened to be CircleSource, actually, that put the ad out themselves. And I hadn't heard of CircleSource before. And so it was shared via a message. I clicked on the link and went straight to the website, found the job, or it took me straight to the job. So I had a look at it, checked it out. And two things really stood out to me straight away with CircleSource that I thought, I'm going to give this a try. Not only was it sent to me and recommended by a friend, but the two other things that stood out was that it was Australian. Because the other platforms that I'd used in the past had been overseas platforms. And so, obviously you get to then draw on people from all around the world. But with what I do, it needs to be more of a local network often for me to get work rather than me putting out work. So that was the first thing that stood out. And the other thing that stood out to me was that there was no upfront fees to post for a job. I've used other platforms in the past where you get tokens or credits to be able to bid for work. So that costs you money just to put a bid on for the work, and then you may or may not get it. And so I, with that particular platform, I bid for a number of jobs, and it seemed to be a race to the bottom. In order to get the work and get your money for that bid, you needed to sort of put in a low bid. So I did a few jobs that were probably below what I would normally, far below what I would normally charge. And I think after about 6 months on that platform, I'd made my money back. So I thought, no, this is not working. So the difference with CircleSource that I found was that you didn't have to, there was no upfront fees. It's just that fee once the transaction's made, and once you've won the work. So I thought that was a really good, a good aspect of it. so it really stood out as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And what do you find about the platform itself? Because, you know, I have used it, and navigating around and being able to see providers and suppliers and clients on there. What's your experience been?
Yeah, I think it's really good. It's simple enough that it's easy to use. I don't find it overly complicated. You know, you find a job. Well, you first get alerted once you're in the system. You get those email alerts to jobs that might be of interest, and so yeah, I found it very easy to apply for work and chat with the person who's put the job up to try and get further information before you put a bid in. So I think that opening up that channel to communicate with the buyer supplier relationship is a really good one too. Even before you put the bid in, you're able to find out more information, because the last thing you want to do is put a quote in and then you find out that it's not the job that you thought it was, and there's more work involved and you haven't bid properly. So yeah, I think it's really good.
So having experienced the process as a supplier, has that given you confidence in the platform? And for instance, you said, you know, I didn't have to pay anything up front until I'd actually won the work.
Yeah, and even then it's just a percentage, so it's not like you're out of pocket. Yeah, I can't really fault it, to be honest, and I'm certainly going to continue to use it.
So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your experiences, and also share how you've been navigating these uncertain times, especially as a creative, because I know the creative industry is one of the industries that has been hit rather hard through our current times. So I appreciate you taking the time to share.
Thank you.
Is there any final insights through your journey through the uncertainty that you'd love to leave with the people listening, to our audience? And also, if people want to get hold of you, what's the best way for them to find you if they go, I need Chris?
Sure. Yeah, look, I think that I think I've touched on it a number of times. It's keeping connected with people, whether that's through networking formally or informally, previous clients, or reaching out without being salesy to prospective new clients. It's staying front of mind, particularly, and not losing heart, not losing hope, because we're definitely in a lull at the moment, and as creatives, as you said, but there will be an end to this, and things will come back, just a matter of time. And so I think that the people who put themselves out there and are continually front of mind and connecting with people genuinely are the ones that people are going to remember, and you'll start getting business back, and start climbing up, you know, back to where we were again in the past. So yeah, that would be my main thing. And in terms of contacting me, you can find me on LinkedIn is probably the best way. So it's Chris Sprott. And or if you want to visit the website, it's buildimages.com.au. Beautiful.
And for those that have a visual and watching right now, I'm going to add that the photo behind, if you want to see what Chris's work is like, the photo behind him is one of his very own, and it's an amazing image. So I hope people do reach out to you when they need some incredible images, whether it be corporate or in the building industry. So thank you once again for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Georgia. Appreciate it.